Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending the GSE UK Conference 2021. This is session 8BB, and I'm going to introduce James Vincent from Velocity Software, who's going to talk about modernizing your zVM platform with zPRO. Over to you, James.
Well, thank you, David.
And please, any questions in the chat, please.
Absolutely, and as many as you'd like. I like interrupts. So yes, I am James Vincent with Velocity Software, and I am the principal developer for a product called zPRO, and I'm here to tell you about how zPRO can help modernize your zVM platform. First and foremost, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Velocity Software. I'll just jump right into that. Velocity Software, we've been around since 1988, and we're still going strong. We've enhanced the zVM platform with product offerings for the last 33 plus years. And predominantly, we've been in the performance management suite space. So performance and monitoring of your zVM system, and shifted into the Linux performance monitoring when Linux became a real interesting thing, around the early 2000s. And now we've shifted into providing ZOS-Mon, VSE-Mon. We've had a product called zTune, and lo and behold, there's the good old zPRO. So zPRO is the topic I'll be covering today. We're across the entire globe with 200 plus installations, 22 countries, 6 continents, and all the different kinds of different installations and corporations, companies that you could think of. So we've got a plethora of influence around the globe, and like I said, the history of Velocity Software is long and very strong and stable. And the last bullet there, 110% support for our customers in the zVM ecosystem. I can't say that enough, and our customers can't either. Not too many years ago, I was a customer of Velocity Software, working for a large insurance company. And I would easily stand up and say that to anybody that asked, that Velocity Software really stands behind their customers. And now that I am working for them, I can say for sure that is definitely the mindset.
I can second that, James.
That's good to hear.
The response I get from you is absolutely superb.
So it's really important to us to make sure that everybody has what they need, and we take it very seriously. So that's our mantra. So Velocity Software, a little bit more. You've heard this. We've been doing performance monitoring for over 30 years, network monitoring for more than 20 years, Linux on Z, I mentioned before, more than 20 years. We've added Oracle and WebSphere monitoring for the last 10 years, ZVSE monitoring for 10 plus years. And we include no charge features in the product, zOperator to fully run your operator and operations management, zAlert for performance data alerting notifications, and distributed server monitoring, which is just included. You can monitor any SNMP host anywhere that you want to. It doesn't have to be on the Z. It can be in your data center, outside your data center, wherever. As long as it has an SNMP listener, we can monitor it. And then added ZOS-Mon, so we do ZOS monitoring also. And of course, zPRO, which is what we're going to dive into. Now, zVM. zVM is a great platform, and anybody that knows about zVM would agree. It's a really wonderful platform, and it is one of the best virtual server hosting platforms that's out there, hands down, and it still is and will continue to be one of the best. We proved that by doing a little experiment when we got our new Z15 in our data center, that we did a little project called Metal to Cloud in 2 days. Our CTO gave us a challenge when we were installing this. He said, I want you guys to focus on getting zVM up, functional, and fully ready in less than 2 days. So we did it. And literally we took a running Z15 and a storage subsystem that was just sitting there idle, didn't have anything installed on it, and went from 0 to fully functional in less than 2 days. We had zPRO installed and configured in less than 30 minutes and had 155 images cloned and provisioned in less than 20 minutes. I would challenge anybody and any other product solution out there to beat that. I bet they couldn't. And we did this with, I'll say, probably 2.5 people working on it over those 2 days. And I say 2.5 because it was predominantly a couple people doing the main installs. And then we had a little bit of assistance at the end part to configure some of the ZVPS product stuff to get that up and running. But overall, it was a quick and easy install. So we had a fully functional system, less than 2 days. Now with the Z, the big challenge that's out there for a lot of folks, a lot of the newer folks or people that are coming into this space, especially from the Linux side, is managing zVM through 3270. 3270 is oftentimes the stumbling block. And this is no different than if you're if you've got Z background, you've been working in zVM or ZOS for a long time, for your entire career, and then you jump over to the Linux side and they show you Vi or Vim or Ed or any of the other editors du jour that they are using on the Linux machines. It's a stumbling block. And the same holds true for 3270. 3270 and Linux people don't get along real well. So the 3270 interface itself, it is powerful, it works, it does what it's supposed to, and if you know how to use it, it's awesome. But for new folks, it's a stumbling block. So we need to make it better. We need to make it easier. Barton said, it's always been his wish to modernize such a great platform. And that's what we turned around and did. We did it with zPRO. zPRO is super easy to install. And by super easy, I mean, you can install zPRO from nothing to functional in less than 10 minutes because it's non-intrusive. We don't have to mess with any CP exits or adding any extra machines or building anything more to your system. It's just an easy install. It lays down on top of our native VM web servers that come with our zVPS product. So it's very easy, very fast. It does put a modernized front end onto zVM to help manage not only your zVM system, but also your virtual servers. It's very easy to customize. Our customers, nearly every single one of our customers have put customization into zPRO to meet their corporate needs or whatever needs they may have to make it look and feel like they need it to. And zPRO, one of the zPRO's focuses is to enhance productivity for everybody that uses it. And it also helps delegation of tasks. It helps to delegate all those things, to take them off your plate and let other people manage their work without interrupting you, because you've got better things to do than, build servers or, shut down servers when activities need to be done, etc. So some of the things within zPRO that we've done up over and beyond managing Linux servers. So zPRO's was originally built to manage your cloud on zVM. And that includes cloning and provisioning servers, managing those servers from the standpoint of starting them up, shutting them down, restarting them, moving them from member to member in clusters, all those things you could think of that it usually takes to manage a cloud environment. zPRO handles all that for you. That became really, really solid. There's not a lot of bells and whistles that we could add to that because we do it already. We do it all already. So we began focusing on modernizing zVM. and adding to the zVM management tools. So we started adding more and more. So I'm going to give you a short list of what the main elements are, and then go into a demo and show you the details. The event scheduler, it's a full event scheduler that you can set up things to run at any time that you need them to. So if you need to start or stop servers at a specific time, or you need to run some script to collect data and build reports, whatever it may be, zPRO will allow you to schedule those events and manage those events. I've added backup and restore capability into zPRO so that you can back up and restore key critical files. A lot of people don't have native backup and restore products on their systems. And oftentimes we're going without actually doing backups of any kind. And if you erase a file, or if you change a file, or anything happens, for instance, to your system config file, that's a bad day. If you have to recreate something that it was an oops, didn't mean to do that, and now it's gone, what do I do? This backup and restore function saves your bacon in that case, because you can restore it quick and easy. Security management, full security management. We support RACF and VM Secure. For RACF, we have 2 different kind of reports that are available that help you find orphaned rules. Those are rules that are lingering out in your RACF database that don't get cleaned up by default. RACF doesn't clean up when you delete a user if there are, various different rules out there in the database. You have to do that manually. zPRO makes that simple, literally with a push button. And brand new is a RACF rule wizard. And even if you're a zVM administrator, RACF is not always intuitively obvious. And there's always that quirky, which format does the command take? Is it this structure or that structure? The rule wizard takes that thinking problem out of the equation, because you just step through what you want to do, answer a couple questions, push a couple buttons, and it's done. Directory and storage pool management. This is also something that folks have not necessarily stumbled over, but it's just not intuitively obvious. And that's adding DASD to your storage pool, especially with DIRMate. DIRMate can be tedious, and zPRO makes it easy to add storage to your storage pools. Spool subsystem, your VM spool, to be able to report on spool files, how much is being used, what's being overused, the overall system usage, and even locating unowned spool files. Again, if you delete users that have spool files and don't delete their spool files before you delete the user, those spool files will linger out in your system without you knowing about it. Shared file systems, zPRO makes it super easy to manage and create brand new shared file system pools. Virtual network management, we manage your entire virtual network from vSwitches to guest LANs. You can not only manage them, but build them and destroy them as needed. System allocation management, which is coming soon. This is to be able to manage your paging and spooling space. If you need to add volumes to your page or spool, zPRO will do that for you. And much more. I mean, we've got a lot more on our plate. So this would be perfect for a demo. Let me get you into, let's see if I can bring that one up. There we are. So the first thing I'm going to log into is a user perspective of zPRO. This user perspective is an end user. So consider it an application person that needs access to Linux servers or virtual servers. And again, instead of giving or having them come to you for everything. You give them access to zPRO. You define their authority level to be a user, basic user interface. You define their resources to have guidelines, to have boundaries. And in this particular case, this user has been given, I need to get this window up a little bit farther so you can see it. This user has been given resources that they can only build 3 servers, have a certain number of virtual CPUs, certain number of storage, mini disks, and IP addresses. So they can't build anything more than that, but they can build anything they want within that. So they're resource constrained. They can manage their own servers how they wish to manage them, from the standpoint of they can build what they want. So this create servers gives them a list of servers that they can build. They can start and stop their servers. They can delete their servers, and they can manage their servers. They can even, from zPRO, work with their servers directly. So command interface directly into their virtual server. So anything that they need to do, they can do directly from zPRO. This command interface is especially handy if the network goes a little wonky, or if you're messing with the network configuration, because the command interface does not need the network. It is a direct connection to the virtual server. In fact, when I was building this particular interface, the server I was working on, I did just that by mistake. I messed up the network and I couldn't SSH into it. So I came over and connected with the command interface, fixed my configuration, re-enabled the network, and I was good to go. And I did that all through zPRO. Now, the end user also has access, or zPRO has access to server performance. Since zPRO comes from Velocity Software, and Velocity Software is one of the premier performance monitoring companies, of course, our zPRO will connect directly into our performance monitoring, the product called zView that comes with zVPS. And just watching a running server, this particular display will show just a real brief overview of the server's performance. And if there was something going on, if a CPU was running a little high or paging was high, whatever the case may be, they can click into that server and it will open zView, a panel, a dashboard, showing key elements of that server that you could dig into. So you can drill into any portion of this and dig in and figure out what's going on with that, with the performance of the server, whether it be storage usage or memory or CPU, whatever it may be. You can drill in and figure it out. So zPRO gives you full, complete access to that. So this is, again, just a user interface. And what I'm going to do is shift gears a little bit and show you a different type of interface. And this is from an operations perspective. Interestingly enough, when a lot of our customers got zPRO, and I would mention it would be a good idea to consider delegating access out to your operators to be able to use zPRO. There wasn't a lot of interest in that at first. But when our customers started turning that ability on to their operations staff, they figured out how great it was to not have to deal with the day-to-day stuff. Things like starting and stopping servers even, or moving servers from one cluster member to another for system activities, that kind of thing. It saves them a lot of time. It saves them not only a lot of time, but it saves them interrupts, especially at 2 o'clock in the morning on the weekend when operations needs to move a bunch of servers because they're going to bring a system down. So it takes it out of the system programmer's hands. from the operations perspective, also, if you look on the right side, this is the enterprise interface for zPRO. This particular instance is looking at two systems, two cluster systems, one cloud demo and one demo sys4. These are two 4-member clusters, or I'm sorry, it's two clusters. One's 4-member, one's a 2-member cluster. But this is just showing you only need one login instance to be able to manage all your systems with zPRO. It doesn't matter if your system's in the same data center or in the same machine. It could be around the world. As long as your browser can access your zVM system through zPRO, you can set up and manage those systems with one zPRO login. And so hovering over that, you can see the member or the cluster definition. If you double click it, it will open up a dialog for you, and you can see the systems that are running. You can grab one of the servers and move it across, so it's full GUI interface. You can right click and do different actions on those servers. It's no different than the functions that you have available to you on the main server list table that's shown right now, because all the same functions are available on the buttons that you can just select the server and do actions on them. Now, this is operations. So this is an operator interface. They're limited from the standpoint of they can't create servers. They can't do a lot of other things that you can do in zPRO. They can't delete servers. It's all focused on what does an operator need to do. And that's what zPRO lets you do, is define the delegated access exactly the way you need it. So an operator can do all the things they need to do to the servers to do their job. You can also give the operations staff more access to do different functions as you need them to. For instance, and this is an example that one of our customers had to, they had to do a lot of maintenance work on OSA cards, OSA ICC cards. And instead of giving the operators, written instructions to have the operators get on the 3270 console and type commands, they wanted to take that part out of their hands, so they didn't have to type a bunch of commands and worry about reading something off a piece of paper and putting it into the 3270 console, etc. Because the operations staff, they're busy. They're day in and day out. They're doing a bunch of different tasks, jumping from one system to another, and they wanted to take the timing, the amount of time it takes to get the job done, make it lower. So we built this little interface to enable and disable these ICC addresses on the system. And this little interface took less than 20 minutes to build. And they provided it to their operators, and the operators could come in, and before the OSA activity was started, they could disable the address, hit process request, and it was done. Literally less than 10 seconds of work to get set up and ready to go. And then when they were done, they just come back in and re-enable, and again, a few seconds and it's done. It takes typos out of the equation, makes everything a lot easier. But that's just a simple example of customizing zPRO, and this one is operations specific. Again, operations specific. You can build different views for operators depending on what they have to be working on. So in this particular case, this was that end user, the self-service user. Those are all their servers that operations might want to be looking at. And they can narrow down by system, so you can set up views based on just one particular system. So again, you can customize how the user interface is set up. And again, operations wise, it just makes their life easier to be able to push one button or look at one specific listing of servers depending on what they need to do. So that's an operations view. And now I'm going to shift into an admin view of zPRO. So a different perspective of zPRO. Now, in this case, my enterprise view of zPRO, I've got 3 systems that I have enabled on this on my user ID. 2 of them, you see the pause buttons here. I have paused those systems because I just want to focus on the cloud demo system, the one that's enabled. If I want to work with one of the other systems, I just single click it and it re-enables it. And if I refresh my server list, you'll notice I have, well, hopefully you notice I have more servers and it picks up the other system that I enabled. But for now, I'm just going to stay focused on the cloud demo system. Now, I mentioned zPRO is 100% excellent at cloning, provisioning, and managing Linux on Z. And lo and behold, that's, you can create all kinds of different servers on this system. Pretty much anything that you can build on zVM as a guest, zPRO can clone and provision and manage. And that includes ZOS. ZOS systems, if you build a ZOS guest on zVM, zPRO can clone ZOS guests also. We can clone zVM guests. We can clone whatever you need. Linux is predominantly the servers that are built with zPRO, but you can build anything on your zVM system with zPRO.
Yeah, just to add to that, we clone ZOS guests primarily for trainees for a specific length of times to do some training on, or for projects that are time limited projects that they want to do some project work on. And they just, after the time period, they're gone and that's it. Great.
Yes, excellent. And that's exactly one of the many benefits of being able to do that kind of thing for testing and development and even for training, to be able to clone a server, whether it's zVMs, ZOS, or Linux, and stand it up, do what you need to do, and then tear it down. And the resources are back into the pool. Quick and easy. Now, from the focus of managing your zVM system and administering zVM, I'm going to start showing you some of the enhancements we've done within zPRO to allow you to do that really easy. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the scheduler. The scheduler, again, this is an event scheduler that you can set up actions and processes to run when you need them to. So this one, I'm going to just highlight this one real quick here. Time change. We just went through a daylight savings time change last weekend here in the United States. And this event will automatically change our daylight, our time zone setting on all our systems automatically. No manual intervention. It's all done through zPRO. So I have a little routine. Well, this particular one, Xauto logs a user ID to check the time zone and sets it appropriately at the right time. And that, again, you can set up any action that you need to, whether it's starting a virtual machine to run a process or executing an exec that you've written that might, do whatever you need it to do, whether it's building reports, checking the status of things, whatever the case may be. You can also set up events to manage your servers. I mentioned this before. If let's say at Friday night at 10 p.m., you need your servers to be shut down for a particular application because the weekend it's dead time. They're dark. So you shut them down Friday night at 10 p.m. It used to be somebody manually had to do that and handle that activity. You could set them up in zPRO to shut down at that time every Friday night. You can then set up an event to start them, say Monday morning at 1 a.m. Again, no manual intervention. zPRO will handle it all for you. So it's a full function scheduling within zPRO. Shifting into more system administration, backup and restore. So backup and restore, this backup and restore is for critical files, critical mini disks or SFS directories that you might have, that you want to make sure that things don't get lost, or you want to have a good fallback if something disastrous happen. Not necessarily even disastrous, but even oops, it's like, oh, I erased that file, didn't mean to do that. You can get it back really quick and easy. So you can set up a pool, a location for zPRO to use, and size it accordingly and back it up or run backups through the week. And again, it's a full function backup restore in that it'll do full backups once per week and then do incremental backups throughout the week. So you can set all that criteria. By default, it will automatically add critical spaces for you when you set up your backup and restore. For instance, if you know and understand zVM, the pmate Charlie Fox 0 disk contains a lot of files, especially your system config, that controls how your system IPLs. Those files are ones that you probably want to have backups of just in case. The pmate 2 Charlie Charlie by default, if you don't have a directory manager, that's where your directory lives, your user direct file. TCP mate 198, the 198 disk for TCP mate is your network configuration. Again, files you don't necessarily want to lose, because if you do, it's just really hard to restructure them or rebuild them from scratch. And a number of others. I automatically add ZVPS configuration in, because again, it'd be nice to have restore capability for those files too. So you can dig in and look at the catalogs and what's been backed up, and be able to see the files that have been backed up. You can restore them directly from here, or you can restore them by looking for them specifically with a dialogue to read. You know, if you know exactly what you want, or you need to kind of search for it if you're not totally sure what you want. For instance, hey, it's something named profile. I don't remember what the rest of it was, and I don't remember whose it was. So let's see what's out there. Oh, there's everything that's named profile that's been backed up. So you can kind of scan through and see what you want to find or what you need to get back. So again, it's a full function backup and restore, and it has already saved, dare I say, saved the bacon of a couple of customers, because as soon as I released zPRO with this function, they turned it on and they started backing things up, and they did exactly what I said. One of them erased a file, didn't realize it. They used this restore out of zPRO and got the file back without any fuss, without any problem, and they were, back up and running without any issues. And another one had been doing modifications to their network and messed it up, and they wanted to get the original back and had not done hadn't saved the original, so they used this to restore and got it back. So again, it's a real easy way to save a lot of time and frustration. Directory management, we do zVM directory management through zPRO, whether it's through a external directory manager like dirmate, or the internal directory manager in zPRO called zDirect. zPRO ships with a built-in directory manager if you do not have one. If you do have one, it'll use it, but you don't need to have a directory manager on your system because zPRO has one and it does all the functions needed to manage your directory. So the user direct will stay on your pmate 2 Charlie Charlie disk, and zPRO manages that user direct file for you. The storage pool management is something I mentioned in the beginning, and that's a way to manage the directory manager storage pools on your system. So you can see all the functions you can do against your different storage pools. You can add volumes as needed. So if a storage pool happens to be running out of space and you still have more, work to do, more things to add, you can easily add volumes to any of your storage pools. And zPRO will manage, if the volume has not been labeled and formatted, zPRO will do that for you. If it has been labeled and formatted, zPRO will let you find those volumes and add them in directly. So all that, if they do need to be formatted, all of that is done in the background on worker machines, and zPRO will manage all of that for you and let you know when the processes are all done. So you don't have to sit around and wait for it. You can actually build new storage pools. So if you have a need to build a brand new storage pool, you can also do that. Or you can delete storage pools directly from zPRO. So again, a full function interface into your storage pool management for your directory management to save time and effort. We also do profile management if you're in your directory, and if you need to do anything with profiles that are used by your guests, by your users on your system, you can manage those also through zPRO. And then user pool management. User pools, a lot of folks don't realize or even consider, but if you're using SSL on your system, the SSL subsystem uses a user pool user ID called SSL. And if you want to manage that user, zPRO will let you do that. So you can edit the pool, you can change how it's defined, how many users are allowed, right from zPRO. So you can redefine it directly from zPRO. So that's directory management. Now we'll get into security management. And for security management, especially RACF systems, this is where the first three items on this list come into play. And I'm going to start in the middle. The orphaned reports, orphaned user ID and orphaned VMLAN scans. I mentioned before, these are specifically for RACF because RACF does not clean up rules when a user or a LAN is deleted, a vSwitch or a guest LAN. So if you have users getting deleted and someone doesn't go through and actually look for any of the rules that those users had, RACF will happily keep them in the database. That clutters your RACF database and makes a lot of other things slower. It's a good idea to go through and clean those up. So these IDs that you see listed, they're gone. They're not in the system anymore, but they have rules defined, and you can actually look at if you want to. Let's just pick a simple one here. You can go look at and see what were the rules that are defined for that user ID that's not there anymore. In this case, it was disk rules, mini disk rules. So you can view the rule specifically from here. You can delete all the rules from here. But the easiest thing to do is just run this list, click them all and delete them because they're totally useless at this point. So it's just a way to keep your database clean. The same with orphan VM LAN rules. And I just put a couple in here. One's called no switch and VSWT gone. Those are rules for VM LAN or virtual switches. Those virtual switches are gone. They're not defined. They're not there anymore. So you, again, can clean up and manage those really easy. Security rule searching. Just as it states, if you want to look at, let's say, somebody comes and says, hey, James is leaving the company at the end of the week. Can you tell me what he has access to so that we know, what we should be focusing on for cleanup and adjusting, or whatever the case may be. You can run a report and see everything that is defined for a particular user. So you can see all the details behind what they have access to and manage them. So quick and easy scan through your entire RACF database. Now the security rule wizard, this is brand new. This wizard lets you work with security rules without having to know the details of how to set them up. Because even somebody that's been in zVM for a long time may not always remember the details and has probably a lot of lists and tips and tricks and whatnot that's they've recorded, and they would have to go look up and say, okay, I want to build a user profile. What is that command again? What is the structure? What is the special keyword? Whatever. This takes that problem out of your hands. So even a seasoned zVM person can find this useful. And honestly, I've been using this constantly now, and I built it. I use this a lot because I don't have to remember all the details now. I can just come in, and if I want to change any user ID's profile, I'm just going to pick on myself here. I can just come in and bring up the wizard part of it and set up the things that I need. So I can take care of this, the user profile. I can manage the special RACF settings that are allowed in the user profile. I can revoke and resume as needed. I can set the user ID up, the user ID password any way that is required. If I want to change my ID to a no log user ID, I can do that. I can set a new password if I need to, or manage whether or not the password should be expiring or not. So everything you would normally need to set for a user ID, you can do directly from this wizard. You can also list all those profile rules, all the class rules that's in the database directly from here also. So you can manage them from this perspective. You can take a look and see what's out there and either view the rules for the user directly from here, or manage the profile directly from here. I'm just kind of poking around and picking a few, but it'll take you right into the same area. So different ways to see and manage the user profiles. And different classes, the main classes that I have built in for mini disk access, surrogate support or logon by authorization, and the VM LAN, the guest LAN and virtual switch access within RACF. I have those added in. Same goes for all those other classes. You can just list everything that's in your RACF database, and you can scan down through it and find what you need to do or work on. Or you can use the wizard and step through. It'll ask you questions. What disk do you want to work with? I'll just pick a disk, and it'll either show you that it has an existing rule. You can change and modify that rule for universal access and the owner's access to that particular resource, and then set up who else can have access to that particular resource. And again, you don't have to worry about what the RACF command structure is. zPRO handles all that for you. So full management of your security within zPRO. Shared file systems. If you know about shared file systems, you know how powerful they can be and how useful they can be. And zPRO makes managing those shared file systems a lot easier. Even from the standpoint of just adding space. If you manage the ZVPS product, our products go into a file pool. The default name is VM sysvps. And if you're putting reports and logs and spool console files and other things into that pool, at some point, depending on the size of your system, that file pool, shared file system pool, could fill up. And zPRO makes it super easy to add a disk to your file pool. So you can just come in, select the file pool, put in how many cylinders you want to add, pick a storage group and device type, and add the disk space to that pool automatically. You don't have to go and figure out all the back commands that you have to do and all the different functions you have to do to make that happen. zPRO does that with a couple of questions to answer and one push button of a button. So you push it once and you're done. Takes care of it for you. The other neat feature of this is when you create or have to create or want to create a brand new SFS pool. You can do that directly from zPRO. Instead of having to look up the details again, you answer a few questions and you can set up a brand new storage pool. In fact, I'm just going to do really quick, since we have a little bit of time, a little storage pool. So let's just knock this down a little bit just so it doesn't take too much time. So I'm answering a couple questions and putting in a few answers and clicking build pool. I did that. Did do that. Okay. So it's going to take all my answers. It's going to go back and look at the storage groups, make sure I've got enough space, and start setting things up. So it's all running in the background. At some point here, it will kick up and put up a worker progress display for me. But all of that, all the work is being done for you. And there it is. It's done. Now, again, it was a small pool, but I built a storage pool on the fly through zPRO that quickly. And it was no effort. I just answered a few questions. So now I have someplace to store all my music. All right, moving on, spool management. Managing your spool subsystem in VM, zPRO helps you do that really easy. So you can see that the first place I'm starting is with the summary, the spool usage summary. And that report just gives you a glimpse at a high level of who's using the most of your spool system, from the total number of files, total records, total open files, and the top spool files by size. So you can get an idea who's using the most. And then it also breaks down by class of spool files, which is just lightly interesting, but more so at the bottom, it breaks down by the kind of spool files that are on your system from the standpoint of how many dumps are out on your system. How many unowned files are on the system? So again, being able to manage your spool system and keep it clean as best you can. This is a cluster, so this report has information from each member of the cluster. And at the bottom of the report, since this is zoomed in, it's got to move a little bit. It has buttons so you can drill in and find any of the files that you need to, like unowned. If you do happen to catch a few unowned files, you can scan for them right here. You can look at open spool files only. You can see who's got their console spooled and see what's going on there. You can actually close the console directly from zPRO. You can also look for dumps, and dumps happen. Dumps happen at the different times, whatever reason, but it's also a good idea to know what dumps are out on your system. And in this particular case, we have one dump on ZVPS, but there could be a lot of dumps, virtual machine dumps out there that you don't even know about, unless you have something monitoring them. So it's a good idea to keep track of that. This spool interface in zPRO lets you manage spool files. You can purge them, transfer them. You can toggle, if they're on hold, you can toggle the hold and take the hold off if you need to. So managing spool files is pretty quick and easy. Spool file searching. This is often handy if you've been moving files around or somebody says, hey, I sent you that file, but you didn't get it. You can go look for it. Maybe they sent it to a different user ID, or it got transferred by mistake when you were doing something else. You can go look and scan and find any kind of file characteristic you need in your spool subsystem. So spool management's built in. System allocation, this is what I'm working on. This is just a an early view of it, but this not only lets you see what your system's allocations are in your allocated areas, such as directories, page, spool, tdisk, but you can map the allocation and get an idea of what DASD is involved, or what DASD is assigned to those particular allocations. And you can also add page and spool. So if your paging is getting full, you've been adding a lot of servers, and you said, it's time to add more page, you can quickly and easily add page volumes through zPRO. So an easy management of your system. Last but not least is your virtual network management. And virtual networking, guest LANs, and vSwitches. zPRO will manage your entire system for you in the virtual network space. In this particular case, this is your vSwitch view. You can take a look at the connections on the switches, who's actually connected, what their IP addresses are, their MAC addresses, and see what's actually using the switch. You can look at the specific details for the switch if you want to look at everything that's been defined and is available on that particular switch and its status. So you can dig in and look at that report. You can create new switches on the fly. So zPRO, again, answer some questions, click a button, and the switch is built for you. So this is true from vSwitches and guest LANs. You can define and build new switches anytime you need, as needed. And of course, to clean up, you can delete switches if you need to. So it has a full, easy interface into managing your virtual network. So I'm going to shift back into the presentation. And I have a few slides that I'm skipping over just in case the demo didn't work. I gave you an overview of the functions that we have in zPRO to manage your zVM system. I also showed you some of the delegation capabilities that are available in zPRO to be able to enable other people to be able to use zPRO to do their jobs and take the work off your plate. And what I'm showing right now, and I'm not going to read these, you can read these at your leisure, But these are, this is feedback from a couple of our customers about how zPRO has made their lives that much easier, and how zPRO has enabled them to move on and work on bigger things a lot easier also. zPRO's fast, it's quick, it's easy. I said that from the beginning, and other solutions that were out in the space to manage your cloud on Z systems are nowhere near what zPRO is, as far as the speed and ease of use that we have. zPRO makes it so much easier, and it's a lot quicker and faster to get into your system and on your system and start using efficiently, quickly, and reliably. zPRO's reliability is top notch. So these customers have great feedback on how it's made their work so much easier. And a couple quick hit comments that I've gotten over the recent past. Not getting phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning is good for everybody, no matter who you ask. And if zPRO can help that situation, that's all that much better. So a VM systems programmer would get called in the middle of the night all the time because they needed to do some work on the zVM system. They now have given that ability to their offshore folks and to their operations staff, and they don't get called anymore. Their calls have gone to zero, which is amazing. Focusing on bigger projects, that's a big part of zPRO also, because of the delegation. They can give the access to their users that need it, or their Linux administrators that need to work on different servers, or their operations staff. It takes it off their plate so that they can focus on bigger projects. And then the zPRO has spoiled me, made me chuckle, but it is true. A Linux administrator got access to build their own servers and manage their servers as they needed to, instead of having to bug the systems programmer. They used to have to send an email, and if the email didn't get responded to, they'd make a phone call. If the phone didn't get answered, they'd go, try to find where their cubicle was and beg them to do some work that they needed to do to get their projects going. They don't have to do that anymore because they now have access through zPRO. Whoops, sorry. And oh my PowerPoint's not behaving, sorry. One more time. If you choose and want to take a look at the demo of zPRO, you can. This is in the slides. You can come out to our demo.velocitysoftware.com zPRO site and sign up and get a user ID and start building and playing with your own servers. You will not be able to administer the zVM platform for various good reasons, but you can get a sense of what zPRO can do and some of its capabilities. And this is a public demo site. You can do this anytime you want. So a quick summary, zVM continues and will always be really awesome. And zPRO makes it more awesome. It's a really easy, modern front end to zVM that enhances productivity and gives you system management functions. So it limits the amount of time you have to spend, or new people, or anyone for that matter, has to spend on a 3270. zPRO does it all for you. And we're here to help. Velocity Software is always available. If you have questions, if you have any enhancement requests, let us know anytime. We're here, we listen, and we will help anytime. We really do stand behind our customers and want to see Linux on zVM succeed well into the future. And I appreciate your time. I appreciate the opportunity. to present with GSE UK, and I hope you have gotten some good information out of this presentation, and contact us, even just to say hello, but to ask any questions that you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. I'm just going to share. I'm going to take you off sharing, so I'm going to share the QR code for the feedback.
Very good.
There we go. There's the QR code for the feedback. Thank you everyone for attending. Hopefully we'll see you all in the next session. Thank you, James.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.